what you know about purification to save the heart of a nation. Let burn a talking wood, bringing light to a talking wood. Natural law, just wisdom and love, vision truth below as a bird. Let burn a talking wood, let burn a talking wood.
Welcome to the Affirm Life Daily podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Can you hear me okay and see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, as always, please visit affirmlifedaily.com to learn more about natural law. Check out great resources, great links to books, videos, podcasts. And of course, you can view all the previous podcasts on there as well. You can also follow on social media at Affirm Life Daily on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Your support is absolutely needed. It's essential. It's crucial to spread this message about truth, freedom, and natural law. So today, I'm excited to be talking about your inherent rights are never to be surrendered if you want to align harmoniously with the universe. So I'm going to dive into the following questions. What is an inherent right? What are the threats to our rights? Does giving up our rights violate natural law? Why people give up their rights voluntarily? And why it is important to stand up for your rights. So as I show you on every podcast, these are the 15 topics that I'll be covering through this series. They're also posted on the natural law page of the site. I'm not going to go through all of these now, but if you want to view them, you can definitely check out the natural law page of the site and see what's upcoming and some of the previous topics that I've covered. So let's get into this. We're going to start with defining the terms that I'll be talking about. So what is an inherent right? An inherent right, aka a natural right, is a right you're entitled to just because you exist. No one has to give it to you. There's no special thing you have to do. You don't have to be a certain amount of spiritual or awakened. You exist here, so you have your inherent rights simply because you exist here. So it can't be taken away or given up. So inherent, because they're part of you, they're part of your existence. So you can't even willingly give them up. You can surrender them in a way and allow people to do things to you, but they're still yours to have. They're still inherently yours. So inherent rights are just a natural part of being a human on this planet. No permission or authority can grant or take away your inherent rights. All property rights are inherent rights. So I've talked about this a lot in previous podcasts. So your property rights include your physical property, things that you own, your physical well-being, your safety. No one can just harm you or hurt you physically. That's a violation of your rights because your body is also your property. And that includes your well-being, any type of unwanted sexual contact, and your right to exert your free will based on truth. These are all inherent rights. So your inherent rights are God-given. They absolutely have nothing to do with lawmakers passing this bill or that bill or, signing into law this or that. Nothing to do with the government, nothing to do with man-made laws. These are God-given rights. These are your birth rights. Like I said, every human has them, and they are inherent to your existence. This is a really good quote that kind of piggybacks on what I was just talking about. So a man's natural rights are his own against the whole world. And any infringement of them is equally a crime, whether committed by one man or by millions. Whether committed by one man calling himself a robber or by millions calling themselves a government. That's a powerful quote by L. Spooner because I like the way that he talks about that comparison between one man and millions, because a lot of times we can get convinced that something is okay because so many people are doing it or so many people are agreeing to it, or these people are considered authority figures and we should listen to them because they are in control and we don't know any better. So it's really easy to fall into that trap and want to give up your rights or feel like, well, I must should give them up because everybody else is. So this is a really powerful quote and something to keep in mind. It doesn't matter if it's just one person or a million people. your natural rights are always your own against one person or against the world. So what are the threats to our inherent rights? And I'm going to cover each of these in more detail. So I'm just going to give you an overview now. So the primary threats to our inherent rights include the following. Now, this is not a full list. This is just some of the primary things that I thought I should talk about in this presentation. So continued willful ignorance. As you can see, all those heads in the sand. Willful ignorance is rampant. It is absolutely rampant. There's no other way to put it. And it's a huge problem. It's probably our worst problem when it comes to our inherent rights. A false belief in authority, which we'll talk about at length, lack of self-accountability and responsibility, and fear-based beliefs, and a general just lack of courage that you see. That's another really big one that I feel is extremely pervasive in society. So let's talk about willful ignorance first. So willful ignorance occurs when individuals willingly accept falsities in lieu of educating themselves, even though true information is visible, like maybe right in their face. They may be looking at the truth and still choose to take a stand of ignorance. When it's visible, accessible, and or easily uncovered. And most people in any first world country, and even countries that aren't first world countries, but definitely in a first world country, have, at least at this point, we still have access to lots of information. So if you're presented with something that seems off, or you're presented with information from different sources that you may trust both in one, and you're just not sure which to believe, that's when it's going to be work on your part. You need to do the research to find out what is true. Because if you just say, I'm going to believe whatever makes my life easiest, or whatever makes me more comfortable, or whatever's convenient, or whatever everybody else believes, that is willful ignorance. And that is different than nescience. Nescience is ignorance resulting from an inability to access factual or true information. And some people are in that position. But I would say, again, many people are not. In this country, there are definitely, very few people that will fall into that category. And in most first world countries, I would say for sure, there's few people that have no access to factual or true information. So even when at some conscious level a person realizes their beliefs are false, they will continue to hold on to them and act upon those same falsities. That's absolutely willful ignorance. You are keeping yourself in a state of ignorance for whatever reason. Like I said, it could be convenience. It could be that a feeling of safety you want to feel, whatever it is. It's willful at that point. I'm getting some feedback from someone. They might want to mute themselves. Okay, thank you. All right, so willful ignorance is dangerous. It is extremely dangerous. And it may actually be our greatest threat to our freedom and to having our rights. So these are two quotes that I felt like really help to explore this more. Facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored. That's a Huxley quote. That is simple to the point, but it's something that people, I feel like, just completely overlook. They feel like if I stay in this state of ignorance, that ignorance becomes truth. That lie becomes truth. That falsehood becomes truth because I ignored it. I ignored what was really going on. So that makes my false reality that I created be real reality and be truth. And that's just not the case. It doesn't matter how much you choose to ignore it, how deep you put your head in the sand. Reality is reality and truth is truth. This one is a really good quote. And I don't want to mess up his name, but it's written on there so you can see who he is. So there is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there has always been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. Tell me you don't see that every day, where people have done zero research, looked into stuff 0% of the time, took no time to learn anything about a certain topic, but want to argue you down about it. And you've read books, watched videos, done your due diligence, but they want to still argue you down about it. I see this all the time. Ignorance is not equivalent to knowledge, and people are making that false equivalency. They feel like what they feel about something, or what they, what works for them is as good as truth. And it's not. That's not as good as truth or as good as knowledge. It's not the same thing. So remaining blind in the face of truth does not serve you in any productive way. It absolutely does not. It may make you feel good in the short term, but it will do nothing for you positive in the long run. So the truth always remains whether you choose to acknowledge it or not. And that's a hard fact that so many people still need to accept. The next thing on the list was the belief in false authority. So we're going to look deeper into that. Our false belief in authority is systematically destroying us as individuals, as a collective, as a society, humanity in general. That false belief in the authority is completely destructive. So I'm going to kind of break it down why that is a false belief. All persons are inherently equal in rights. So if you really think about it, how can one person justifiably act in authority over another if we all have inherent equal rights? Doesn't make sense, doesn't add up. So the very concept of authority violates natural law. Boom, right there it does. Authority results in the enslavement of the majority, unquestioning order following, and tyrannical rule by the few over the many. And it is only our belief in authority that sustains it. We're the only thing keeping authority running. We're the only thing keeping the system running. They cannot carry out anything that they're doing without our participation, especially the participation of those directly under their, control, I should say, like government officials, almost any stem of government, agencies, military, police. You think they could do anything that they're doing without that support? You think the people that are, the few people that are pulling the strings have that type of physical power in any way? Absolutely not. So we are sustaining this as a collective, as a group. Authority directly leads to a master-slave relationship. There's just no way around that when you're saying that these particular people are above everyone else and should have control over everyone else. So they really use they use terms that mean something else, and they'll kind of change the terms to keep this master-slave relationship going. So a lot of people think anarchy means something that it doesn't. And I took this graphic from Mark Passio of what on earth is happening. Check him out. When I post these slides along with the video, there will be a hyperlink, but check it out before then. There's also other links and other videos of him on my site. Check out his podcast starting at episode 1 and just go through it, because it will give you a deep, deep understanding of occulted knowledge as well as natural law. But basically, anarchy is not what they've taught us. It's not chaos. Like, they always, whenever people say anarchy, chaos comes to their mind because that's what we've been taught. But that's not even what that word means. Anarchy is a state of existence where there are no masters and there are no slaves. It just means the absence of slavery, or in other words, freedom, which if you're watching this, I'm sure you're a person, that's what you desire, is freedom. And that's all anarchy means. No rulers, no masters. So once we release our belief in, and for many, a desire for a ruling class, then at that point, we can begin to fully understand what anarchy means and what freedom means and stand in it. What sovereignty means and stand in it. We have to embody these terms. We can't just say them and talk about them. We have to start embodying it and standing in it. Lack of self-accountability and responsibility. I did a whole podcast just on this. I highly recommend you check it out if you have not seen it, because this is such an important part of breaking out of this master-slave relationship and being able to, at will, use our inherent rights and not have to ask for permission or try to have a protest or a rally. We shouldn't have to do any of those things because these are our inherent rights. So part of having those rights is the accountability and responsibility that comes with them. Freedom comes at you can call it a cost, but it comes with certain things that you have to do and that you have to be willing to take on to really, truly be free. So when you depend upon another to take care of you, that comes at a much larger cost than it takes you to take on your personal freedom and stand in your freedom. Because and your need and unwillingness to care for yourself puts them in a position of power over you automatically. Automatically, as soon as you are in need of their help just to live. And that need comes from not taking self-accountability and responsibility for your life, for your sustenance, for being able to take care of yourself. Now, I'm not saying you need to do this all on your own. We need to do this as collectives, as communities, but it needs to be up to us how we do it. We need to be able to stand in our freedom. We don't need to get dictated to how we are now. This is how you're going to live. This is what you're going to do. But they say we're going to own nothing and be happy. No, I'm not happy with that. I'm not okay with that. So, freedom is a fantasy if we don't start to take accountability and responsibility for our lives. So when you choose to take responsibility for your life, for your choices, for your actions, that's when you're starting to stand in your sovereignty. That's when you're starting to stand in your freedom. So acceptance of truth, personal responsibility, and self-accountability put you in alignment with the laws of the universe, which is natural law. That is just all natural law. It's the laws that govern this universe. And again, that's not something you want to fight against because you can't change them. So that makes no sense. You want to find a way to live in harmony with the laws of the universe. And that's how you do it. So I just want to put a definition to these terms that I just talked about. So self-responsibility is the opportunity, and think of it as an opportunity rather than something negative, or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. It is the act of taking control of self. Self-accountability is taking responsibility for your actions and behaviors without blaming others. Own it. For lack of a better term, own your shit, man. For real. You got to start owning your choices. You got to start owning your decisions and owning how you live your life. It means you're fulfilling your obligations, tasks, and goals without making excuses. So this is a good quote too. I really did like it. It is easy to dodge our responsibilities, but we cannot dodge the consequences of dodging our responsibilities. So a lot of people feel like, oh, the fact that I don't have to worry about nothing and I'm getting this check from the government every month and da 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 da. They think they think that's a come up. Like that's a positive. There's consequences to dodging your responsibilities, and we're suffering them right now as a whole collective of trying to dodge our responsibilities for self-governance, owning our choices, making the right choices, having self-discipline so that we can do what we need to do to take care of ourselves and take care of our families. Instead, we're relinquishing all these responsibilities to government agencies, government officials, and things like that. And there is a consequence to that. So we will continue to suffer those brutal consequences of abdicating our responsibilities until we change our mindset. And then based on your change of mindset, we have to then change our ways. We can't just know, we also have to do. Fear-based beliefs, that's another big one. That's a huge threat to our inherent rights. So fear-based beliefs can only lead to fear-based actions. If you think about it, what else could it lead to? I can't be really scared and all my beliefs are based in fear, but then all my actions are courageous and independent and responsible. No, they're going to be fear-based actions as well. So fear comes from the lack of knowledge. Fear is just a state of ignorance. If you don't understand self or the world around you, fear will fiercely and relentlessly ensue. You will not be able to get away from fear if you don't have any understanding of what is going on around you or in you. So the cure for fear is knowledge. And then taking that knowledge and putting it into action, which is wisdom. So when you fully understand your true nature and the laws of the universe, you quickly recognize that fear is one big grand illusion. It's not real. Now, of course, there's situations where, fear is very helpful, it's very useful, but you should not be living your general day-to-day life in a state of fear. Your belief system should not be based in fear. That is not going to get you where you're going if you're looking for harmony, peace, love, unity. It's not going to get you any of those places if your belief systems are rooted in fear and your actions are rooted in fear. Because when you really start to understand self and the essence of what you are, which is a eternal spiritual being, when you really embody that as true knowledge within you, you're going to start acting in wisdom because you know, yeah, there's stuff you can do to this physical body, but there's nothing you can do to my essence. Not a damn thing. It's eternal. It is a source energy. Do you know how powerful that is? That is source energy. It is eternal. It is powerful. It is magical. They can't touch that. So once you start to embrace that, the fear-based beliefs, the fear-based actions become unnecessary. They become almost like, what was I ever afraid of? Because you understand what you truly are, what you're truly made of. So here's some examples of fear-based beliefs. The belief in religion. And this includes more than just, religion related to, going to church and stuff like that, to the organized religions of that nature. Money is a bigger religion than that. Authority, I feel, even is a bigger religion than that, because people believe in those two things. The majority of people believe in those two things without question, which makes it a religious belief because they believe it just on faith without question because they have been told this is what you better believe in, money and authority. So many people have never even thought in their mind to question either one of those, the legitimacy of either one of those at all. Never once in their life. That's how deeply ingrained that belief is, which makes it a religious belief. Another fear-based belief, the belief that we have no control over our lives. We do. They're making us think we have to go along with these things because we can't survive without daddy government. Yes, we can. That's why they work so hard through the education system to kill your imagination, to kill your ability to question authority figures. Sit down, shut up. That's what you do at school. Sit down, shut up. Don't question me. So that later, when government runs all over you, when authority figures run all over you, you won't question them either. And you won't even think that there's another way you could possibly live because they've already told you there's not. But that's just what they told you. And by crushing your imagination, you can't even picture anything different or imagine anything different. That's a fear-based belief that we have no control, because we absolutely do. We're supporting this entire system. And if we decide we don't want to support it anymore, it will crumble overnight. If we do that as a collective, it will crumble overnight. The belief that we are not powerful creators. We created this. We're very powerful. We just used our energy to create something that now we're realizing this is not so good. This is not what we want. Many of us have realized this. Some people do want this. Many of us do not want this. But we are powerful creators. We are powerful manifestors. So we have to be conscious and aware of what we are creating at all times. The belief that you are not enough. And that's again about understanding your essence as a person. That spiritual essence, that beautiful soul, that eternal, beautiful, magical, mystical soul. You are absolute. How can you not be enough? You're always enough. And we have to get out of that mindset that we're not enough. We're not deserving of a beautiful life. We're not deserving of all the gracious harmony that comes with being in alignment with nature. Yes, we are. Yes, we are deserving of that. And we have to start believing that in our heart centers. The belief that you know all there is to know. I run up on that one a lot. Oh, I did my shadow work. I'm done. I know everything. I'm perfect now. There's nothing else you could teach me about anything. I know it all. We all have stuff that we can learn. I learn every day of my life. I make it a point to learn every day of my life. And we all should. Because there's so much more to always know, always learn. And the world around us changes. So there's always new things to know and new things to learn. But that's a fear-based belief because that's kind of rooted in, I have to feel superior to others kind of belief. And that's fear-based. because you think it goes back to the last thing. You think you're not enough, just how you are. The belief in moral relativism. I talk about this so much in my podcast because it's so critical. That belief that your morals can change based on the situation, that there is no objective right and wrong. Again, that is a fear-based belief because you only want to be able to use moral relativism because you're thinking of scarcity, you're thinking, oh, other people might overrun me or whatever. So then you can use the moral relativism to do the exact things to other people that you're afraid of them doing to you. That's what mainly people use moral relativism for. And so that is absolutely a fear-based belief because you're scared that, oh, if I work in cooperation with others, then I might come out on the bottom of this, or they might hurt me, or just whatever. It's just fear-based beliefs. So we really have to start to move away from those in order to stand in our freedom and sovereignty and protect our inherent rights. So does giving up our rights, our inherent rights, violate natural law? It absolutely does. When you give up your rights and freedom, it is absolutely a violation of natural law. It also makes the entire human collective vulnerable to abuse, extortion, violence, and corruption. And I'm sure each of you listening can think of a laundry list for each of those 4 things that are being done to us right now. Right now by the powers that shouldn't be, because we put ourselves in this position by giving up our rights and not standing in our freedom and sovereignty. So you will never find the peace and solace that you seek by shirking your responsibilities. We have to start taking responsibility for our life and stop depending on daddy government. Our purpose here is to learn, grow, evolve. That is because we're spiritual beings, and that is our spiritual purpose. But this does require us to take responsibility and accountability. So living outside of natural law allows evil to run absolutely rampant, and it harms the entire collective. So even though, there's a group of us that, get this and want to stand in our sovereignty and are ready to take on that responsibility, we operate here on this planet as a collective. So when you have a majority of people saying, no, I want them to take care of me. I want the powers that shouldn't be to take care of all my problems, keep me safe, feed me, all of that, it harms the entire collective. Because even if you want to live like that, that's fine. When you're talking about freedom for real, you're free to do that. But what you're not free to do is make me do it with you. That's what you're not free to do. I should be able to exit this system anytime I want. So why do people give up their rights voluntarily? To a person that cherishes their rights, it seems crazy, but there are reasons that people are thinking in their mind as to why they're giving up their rights. And these are just a few of the reasons that I thought of. The illusion of safety. Like, they always doing false flags events. They're always pushing scarcity. Oh, there's not enough. There's violence, like so rampant everywhere, things like that. So people want that illusion of safety. So they feel like, well, they're going to keep me safe from all of these things. When in actuality, they're causing me the things that you want safety from. And you're not even recognizing that relationship. The desire for money. And, that leads to the competition for resources. You want more and more money because you want to gobble up more and more resources. So that desire for money, you say, well, they said if I give up these rights, I can get a better job. I can make more money if I'm willing to give up these rights or force other people to give up their rights. So that desire for money is part of that system too, and that train of thought. Programming, manipulation, and mind control. It's in excess in every form of media that we take in, from music to TVs, to TV shows, TV programming. That's why it's called freaking programming. TV programming, movies, everything. It's full of it. It's full of it on both conscious and subconscious levels. So when you're not mindful that the things you're being exposed to constantly do have programming in them, are trying to manipulate you, are trying to control your mind, then it's going to work. It's going to work like gangbusters because you're not aware of what they're doing. Now, someone who's aware and exposed to the same thing, it's not going to affect them the same way because they're aware of what's trying to be done to their mind, the manipulation that's going on. I'm not saying that it's okay, they should keep doing it, but at least having awareness will help you tremendously to, block out a lot of the power that these techniques have. Fear-based decision making. So we talked, some about this. So for example, you might sign up for a government program. Maybe it gives you certain benefits or whatever, but to get in that program, you have to relinquish your, rights A, B, and C in order to get that. So that's fear-based decision making. You feel like, well, I can't take care of myself. I have no, I'm scared to try to do this on my own and figure out a way to make it on my own. So I'm just going to give up these rights so I can get these benefits. See, that's fear-based decision making. The desire to be controlled. Some people desire to be controlled, and that is something that we have to just, accept that there is and it's a decent amount of people, I would say, just based on my experience and talking to different people about these type of topics. There's a decent amount of people who don't want to take any type of responsibility. The less responsibility they can take, to them, the better. And again, that's your right. This is your spiritual journey. If that's what you want to do, cool. You just can't make me do it with you. Again, you cannot force everyone to be controlled just because you want to be controlled. You can't force me into that boat with you. That boat is sinking and I can see that. And then the last thing I really feel that we cannot overlook is the brain damage due to poisonous foods and a poisonous environment. That damages people's brains. You got to think, you're talking about the water being toxic, the air being toxic, the food being toxic. And then you have, a lot of people that don't even understand what healthy food is. They're looking at government guidelines for how to eat healthy. I mean, they're eating GMOs like it's going out of style. Not even, having a basic understanding of how to read a food label. And I'm not judging them. I'm just saying this is what we're dealing with. So you have a lot of people out here that are severely brain damaged. And so, yeah, it's really easy to control and manipulate that person and get them to voluntarily give up their inherent rights. So this is another quote that I wanted to include. Eventually, we all have to accept full and total responsibility for our actions. Everything we have done and have not done. I really like that quote because it includes what we have not done. And what we have not done is take responsibility and accountability for our situation and for our lives. So our current situation is on us. Whether we want to deal with that or not, it's on us. Yes, we've been manipulated. Yes, we've been programmed. Yes, they've done a million things, but we still have to own our choices and actions right now in this moment. That is the only way we're going to be motivated to change it, is if we own it as our own, so that we can start choosing something different. So why is this so important? Why is it super duper important for us to stand up for our inherent rights? Standing in freedom and sovereignty brings you into harmony with the universal laws that govern this realm and leads to the end of unnecessary suffering. If we want to find peace, if we want to find balance, if we want to experience what real harmonious community feels like, and I imagine this all the time, how amazing this is going to be, because we are going to get there. And I already think about how amazing this is going to be. But if we want to have that, we have to stand up against the powers that shouldn't be. We have to embrace our inherent rights. They are ours. No one gets to take those from us. Nobody. The earth is the mother of all people, and all people should have equal rights upon it. Quote by Chief Joseph. Equality, truth, and freedom are the foundation for a healthy, harmonious, and prosperous community. So that means we must always honor our inherent rights. If we have to build this foundation from the ground up. and we are more than capable of doing so. So we have to be courageous right now, because we are capable of doing this, and we can do this, and we will do this. So I want to do this true freedom affirmation before I close out today, just to really bring home this point. I disconnect from the shackles of programmed thinking and behaviors. I recognize my inherent autonomy, divinity, and freedom. I do not rely on outside forces or entities to regulate my thoughts and actions. I no longer seek the false comfort of artificial controls and illusory masters. I accept responsibility for self and the choices I make. I embrace truth and wisdom as the guiding forces in my life. I am secure in knowing that my soul journey exists outside of time and space. I see the beauty and infinite possibilities that come with true freedom. I am free. And so are you. So that is amazing. So I want to put this out there. I want to give a little heads up on the next podcast, because this should be really, it's going to be great, and it's going to be very eye-opening, and I want people to help me spread the word. So this is going to be on October 2nd. It'll be about the conflict between military service and natural law. I think a lot of people need to hear this message. So if you know someone that needs to hear this message, please let them know about this podcast. It is listed on the website, on the podcast page, the date, time, and all the information. This podcast, we're going to explore the following questions, and I'm going to be interviewing retired Air Force Master Sergeant Steve Phillips, over 24 years of military service. So he has a lot of experience and knowledge that he can offer us. Some of the questions that we'll talk about is, what does military training and service entail? Why do people join the military? What are service members exposed to physically and mentally? How does military service impact service members spiritually? What is the relationship between military service and natural law? Steve, are you on? Do you want to say hi?
I'm here.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to comment about the upcoming podcast?
No, I don't have anything right now. It's just only thing I can say is it, for people that don't have any experience with the military, it's probably very different than what they imagined, because it was very different than what I imagined. So I imagine it's that way for most people.
Okay. So we're gonna go deep into this topic. So please spread the word. So, because I think it's very important that we understand military service in greater detail, especially, like you said, those of us who have never been involved. So we just see it on movies and TV, and I'm sure movies and TV is not what they're actually experiencing. So please help spread the word on that. So that concludes the podcast presentation today. Did anyone have any comments or questions for me? No? Okay. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You are muted. I'm sorry, Soul. Can't mute you.
Yeah.
Not my
no.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Look, I even messaged Steve. I was like, Steve, tell her my mic is muted. Tell her I'm muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Man.
I have the full screen on when I'm doing, just the presentation while I'm doing it. So my bad.
Yeah, well, I came in late, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. First of all, you added some colors in there. You added some more colors in the presentation.
Yeah, trying to make it a little more lively.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I see you. Shout out. On the topics though, first of all, this is one of my, this is one of the topics that gets at me the most. I was actually arguing on Facebook with somebody who's in the military today. He works on the planes, and he thinks rights are made up. Right? He's comes from the standpoint that he said specifically, I don't think we don't need rights, but basically for us to coexist, and I'm trying to paraphrase as close to his words as possible because I don't believe in putting words in other people's mouth, but he basically said, and I'm not reading it, it's not that I don't think we need rights, it's that in order for us to coexist in society, people come together and codify rights into law, which, you know, are supposed to be protected by government. And that's how human beings have rights. And it's all just made up. I'm not saying we don't need them, but I'm just saying that it's not inherent in nature. And of course, that sounds logical for the type of mind that is locked in materialism, that that dismisses the connection of our actions to or anything material to emotion, mental, you know, mindset, spirit, the spirit, and just the non-physical aspects of life.
Yes.
And I basically spelled it out as good as I could. And we're having a pretty respectful disagreement, right? We don't agree on anything, but but he's pretty respectful. I'm pretty respectful. We want to attack each other. That element is there, but we're being really respectful about it. And I spelled it out for him. I was like, well, you know, I think where you have it wrong is you seem to believe that materialism is all that matters, and that emotional resonance and spiritual resonance don't really have any weight on what's quote unquote real. And I think that's a lot of human beings. I think that's a lot of us that are, as you say, programmed to just operate on a lower frequency and in a opportunistic, you know, frequency, if you will. Whether it's pleasure-based or status-based or wealth-based, it's just, you know, it's all pleasure-seeking at the end of the day.
Yes.
And this frequency makes us materialistic. Yeah.
Yes. Because that's right on point. And I really should have included that now that you're bringing that up, because you're right. When you are thinking of yourself as separate from nature, it's not even going to dawn on you. Natural law. What's that? What does that have to do with me? I'm a person. I'm not a part of nature.
Mm-hmm.
They think of themselves so separate.
Right. Or karma.
Yes.
Like, oh, that's not real. That's just made up so people can try and understand something that they'll never understand. And it's like, no, you can get objective conclusions from observing karmic consequence.
Yes.
You know, or whatever you want to call it. There's definitely objectivity to it because of its ubiquitousness.
Yes.
Right? It's everywhere, and it's throughout all time eras. And there's really not a sane person, not that there's a whole lot of sane people out here, but there's really not a sane person on Earth who doesn't acknowledge some form of karma, even if they call it something different.
Right.
Right? Some form of what goes around comes around.
Yep.
So my my hat to you and your podcast as always. And Pensy, did you want to say anything? I know you missed it, but it was on rights.
Good day, love.
Hey.
Check the replay for sure. But yeah, I missed the whole conversation. So I don't want to take up your time and things, but
no, you're good. This should be posted really soon. I think I got the editing stuff down a little bit better now. So this should be up really soon so that you'll be able to see it. But I appreciate the participation. I appreciate the comments. Appreciate you joining me this evening. And as always, for more information and ways to connect, visit affirmlifedaily.com. Please follow on social media at Affirm Life Daily on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. There's tons of information on the website. And again, I cannot spread these messages without your help. So please like, share, subscribe, anything you can to help spread the message of truth and freedom. If we want to change things, it's something that we're going to have to do together. So again, thank you all. And I send you off with love, grace, and gratitude. Have a great evening, guys.
Peace.
Peace.